Constants. Constants are something close to variables, but a little bit different. Variables keep on changing from time to time within a file. For example, you can declare a variable such as var, and you define its value, let's say as 10, and that value will forever not be permanent. For example, if we said that the variable var equals to 10, and then we came up and said we have a function called test, and that function calls the global variable var, and then we try to echo var. I want us to do something a little different. If we try to say that var is post incremental, then that will mean that if we are to echo var and call the function test, then the value becomes 11. This means that the variable var has changed by increasing by a bit of 1 within our very code. If you run this in your browser, you must obviously get 11 on your screen. You must get an 11 on your screen, which is something to do with this variable changing from time to time. Yes, we had talked about some variables that are so-called static. That when it comes to static variables, when you redefine them within any function, and let's say var equals to let's say 25, and then it goes to post incremental, then obviously the value is not going to be 11 anymore, but it's going to be 26. Yet if we try to echo var at this point, the var will remain the 10 at the very top. It means var has become 10 outside this very function, but within the function, var recalls itself in being a 25, increasing by 1. And if you had to run this in our browser, we should, we have an error on line 7. We can do that. So you will notice that here var keeps on changing from time to time. I don't know why we have that very error equal. Okay, we forgot to terminate, which is that you're seeing on your screen. Now, there is some, when it comes to constants, the things are a little bit different. Sometimes we want to declare some small values in PHP that we do not want to ever change forever. And this most times is to do with configuration files in PHP. So how do we define variables? We would say define, and then we call a constant name. You would open a bracket, close it, and in the first single mark, quotation mark, you add the variable name that you would like to call it. You can say my constant, and then the next field carries the value. Please note that the data type of the next value that goes into the next field really matters. And if you want to echo this constant, you can simply say echo my constant, or rather you can say echo um, constant, then you call it my constant. This does exactly the same thing. If we are to refresh this, we get 10 10, which is the first echo and the second echo in our code. However, the question is, when should you use the first one and when should you use the second one? You should use the first one if your constant is declared in typically normal ways, like my constant, etc. And also, you should know that constant names are always in caps locks. But if you want something a little bit different, then probably you can choose to say, um, let us first get this out of the way. Assuming you defined a constant and your constant is probably, let's say, um, 2FA. That's something like that, 2FA. Okay, and probably you would like to equal that. You know it very well that if you said echo, you know it very well that if you said echo uh, 2FA, this would create an error in our browser. It's a very typical error. Let's try and see. If we came and refreshed here, they would warn us that there's a syntax error of FL and it was expecting a terminator colon at the end of the line. It assumes that you're trying to echo the value 2, then after that you try to declare something FA that you didn't recall. Putting this in under any quotation marks wouldn't do any need, but now this is the best time where you can say it's actually a constant. This is where you can come in and say it's actually a constant called 2FA. Now this and only this is when we do use that format. So when you really echo, it will echo the 2FA value. However, another instance is if you try to mimic what we call magic constants. Magic constants are constants in PHP that are used possibly to do internally recognized functionalities. And for them, we do not define them. And a good example is you can say equal, um, let's say file. Let's say equal file. When we do this, typically we don't need to define that it's a magic constant or variable, it's a magic constant that would automatically print to us the exact path on which we are writing our exact code. But in case you want to mimic something like that, one first things first, you should know exactly which magic constants we have in PHP. Now, if you realize that the one you're coming up with does not exist, then you can actually come and say that I'm declaring a constant that is called probably Jollis. Then after that, you can say that the value of Jollis is ja.ac.ug in small letters. .ac.ug. Now, moving forward to just say equal Jollis. At this instance, this is not recommended because you might actually end up printing something that really exists, but it's probably recommended. The best way to say is recommended if you just said it's actually a constant and then you mention it there so that when you come here, it actually prints on your browser. That's how we defined constants. And for more of such a course and the web programming course is available at Jobis. Thank you very much.